What's up? What's happening? What's going on? We got a video for you today. Time to discuss that mid-tier Trickster build that I talked about in last week's video, which, by the way, if you are a beginner Trickster that just hit level 30 and just got an Expeditions, be sure to check out that video right here. You should see a little link somewhere in this little doodad corner. That's going to be a very helpful video for you to watch, which then will progress you to this current video, which we're about to get into. This build is going to revolve around the gun, the Bulwark. This is a gun that can be purchased with drop pod resources from Tiago, and it's honestly a pretty damn good shotgun for what you get out of it. This gun is going to be the foundation that allows us to essentially get infinite ammo revolving around Trickster rounds, which gives us a massive damage bonus as Trickster. This, coupled with the tier 2 mod, is what's going to allow that to happen. Essentially, the build utilizes a bleed mechanic that in turn is what gives you that ammo back. So a little tip with that, because of the way the servers are and just the way the game is right now, if it's an enemy that you normally would just one shot, shoot it in the foot or in a non-crit spot, allow that bleed to take effect, and then when you finish it off, you will get that ammo replenishment. I did use this build to farm CT15 Gold solos for quite a while until I got to the meta build per se. So I know this can work. It's what I basically use. I've done some tweaking since when I used it for you guys to make it better. If you haven't already, go head on over to Twitch, give it a follow. I'm live almost every single night on the weekdays and most afternoons on the weekends. Be sure to click the like button. Be sure to share this with a buddy, especially if you like the content. Click the sub button on the top, ring the little bell. We are growing, we're having a good time, and we want to continue this expansion, and we'd love to see some new faces come join in the kingdom. Most importantly though, be sure to make someone smile today. All right, much love everybody. All right, so the first thing we're going to go over with today is going to be the skills. A little bit different from last week's video where we revolved it around borrowed time. Now we're adding a little bit more of an aggressive playstyle. We're still going to be using twisted rounds, which is going to be our biggest damage increase because of what it does. Keep in mind, if you don't remember, this does use 50% anomaly power and 50% firepower. Then we're going to be using Venator's knife. Again, for the biggest reason, this is going to be our biggest support to being our elite killer because of the double damage on marked targets. Realistically, it just gives a really good damage buff overall. Thirdly, we're going to be switching in Hunt the Prey. So this is the bread and butter skill of Trickster. This is what makes me thoroughly enjoy Trickster. Being able to teleport around everywhere, this is all of your mobility. It's such a very satisfying, cool ability. That aside though, the reason why we use this is for a few reasons. One, the mobility. Trickster struggles in comparison to classes like Techno because they can kill things from afar, and we have to be able to close that gap. This is a great gap closer to be able to do so. Secondly, we're going to be using the mod called Radiation Jump, which is going to allow us to inflict vulnerability on whatever target we teleport to, i.e. another big elite killer assistant. And number 3, it's just really cool. Just use it. That aside, let's go into the class tree, guys. I will be putting a link down below as always, so you guys can go to this and just simply see the complete build if you want to save it to your browser, or if you just want to pause the video and copy from here. Completely up to you. It's going to be similar to the beginner build, minus a few changes. We're going to have arms trick again, close range weapon damage, can't go wrong. We will be taking decreased reload time because we are taking an additional mag of twisted rounds. So if we do have to use that second mag, we want to be able to get it up as fast as possible. Not to mention, the Bulwark kind of has a long reload time. Then increased weapon damage by 8%. We'll be taking one more down below to get increased close weapon damage, increased by 15%. Then Shotgun Master to get increased damage. You're going to see a lot of increased damage nodes is what the bread and butter of the build is. Then we're going to be taking Deadly Shadow, increases your critical damage to 20%. Even though you may not be a crit focused build, guys, aim for the crit spot. It's more damage. Aim small, miss small. Then you'll be taking Arms Trick again, increase your close range weapon damage by 15%. And you're going to be taking the top and bottom big node. The first one, every time you activate Venator's knife, you're going to get a weapon damage increase by 35%. Same thing down below here, except instead of like last week's build where we used borrowed time, we're using Hunt the Prey, but it still applies. And in fact, because of Hunt the Prey has such a small cooldown, you actually will be able to benefit more from this node than from the beginner build. So you should see more of a weapon damage increase. Then we're going to be taking decrease the cooldown of your reception skills by 15%. The biggest reason is because this is like an infinite ammo build. It's more stable than perpetual mobile. So therefore, we want to get that Venator's knife out as fast as possible. And armor piercing doesn't really apply when we have twisted rounds active. Next up, unforeseen end. Normally this would not be a very good ability for us, right? But this coupled with Hunt the Prey is actually amazing because you teleport behind the enemy. So if you can't get the crit spot, you're at least getting an extra 20, and because of this one over here, extra 40% weapon damage. So it's kind of nice to actually have this be used for a change. Then you'll be taking the top and bottom for increased weapon damage and close range weapon damage, then another increased weapon damage. You will be taking the decreased cooldown of your movement skill. Again, it's Hunt to Prey. It's a very useful ability, has multiple uses, and it couples well with activating your weapon damage. Then the behind the weapon damage, again, increased damage against elites, increase your magazine size. This is going to be really nice for the Bulwark because it's got a pretty decent size mag, and it's not the slow shot auto shotty, it's the fast one. So having those extra bullets is going to help your DPS. Then increase shotgun weapon damage, and then last but not least, for each enemy in close range, increase weapon damage. If you're starting to notice a trend here with bonus firepower builds, guys, it's a lot of increased weapon damage. Now let's go on to the gear. The gear stat priority is still going to be the same. You're going to want to focus bonus firepower first, which is going to be greater than close range weapon damage, which is therefore going to be greater than cooldown reduction, which is going to be greater than or equal to skills life leech. Again, if you get cooldown reduction or skills life leech, they're kind of equal for this build. In fact, skills life leech might even be a little bit better in terms of survivability because you actually will benefit from the bleed, right? So every time that bleed ticks, you're going to be able to get some life back from that. So that's actually kind of nice. That being said though, cooldown reduction is still going to be, may pull out just a little bit ahead. I would still try to focus getting CDR because if your rounds go down, you get them back faster. An Inner's Knife, you get that out faster. And then most of all, Hunt to Prey, you're going to be able to use that more and more, which in turn is going to give you more damage. So I think CDR still pulls out a little bit ahead. Now let's go into the mods. First thing you're going to need is a gun called the Bulwark, right? And to explain this before we get into the big part of the mods, you can buy this gun from our friendly man over here at the Outriders camp. Just go to Tiago. It's going to take drop pod resources. Mine's going to be a little bit higher. It's based off your expedition. I'm at CT15. He always has it. Buy this from the man. At CT15, it's actually, I think the price may stay the same. I could be wrong on this. Either way, we'll take drop pod resources. So just visit him, buy this when you can. This is what the whole build revolves around. You're going to want to use it. Then when you get the gun, you're going to slap on Bone Shrapnel, which is a tier 2 mod. So you don't really need to get a legendary for it. And you need to keep ultimate bleeding bullets on there. That said, if you have either Killing Spree or Dark Sacrifice, throw that on instead of Bone Shrapnel. The reason why is because it's going to help you out more overall in terms of elite killing. And that's normally where you have a lot of problems. You know, let's be honest here. Those are the ones that can give Trickster the biggest problem, really any class. I do know that when you do the Chrysalis or Chrysaloid boss, most time you get an Amber Vault. So if you've leveled through, you might actually have the Killing Spree mod. So it'd be very easy for you to snag on and put that on there instead. But if you're struggling with all the little minions, keep Bone Shrapnel. But right now it's a budget build. So I wanted to use a tier 2 mod on this instead to kind of showcase it. Because I'm going to give you guys some gameplay of this build at the end. After the Bulwark, we're going to go over our non-class mods. All right. So if you're non-class, you have a lot of them. You're going to be taking Bloodlust, Bloody Boost, Buckshot Shells, Thirst for Blood, Vampiric Mag. This is the important one. Vampiric Mag is the one that gives you that infinite ammo. So definitely make sure you have that one on at least. Personal Space and Mitigation from Death. So seven non-class mods. So you're not really going heavy into the Trickster stuff. Your class mods, you're going to use Additional Mag, Radiation Jump, and Strong Twist. That being said, let me show you how I have them on my gear. You can try to mimic it, but I know that can sometimes be a little difficult. For the helm, we got our God Roll stat, as always. Bonus firepower, close range damage, cooldown reduction. I put additional mag on this one. This rolled with Bloodlust, so it was a perfect set of gear. For the chest, same thing, God Rolled stats. It rolled with Vampiric Mag, which was awesome. Vampiric Mag, what it does is killing shots at enemies afflicted with bleed replenish half of your ammo in your magazine. And this includes if you have Twisted Rounds active. It's not just, you know, non-special bullet skills. So that's what makes it a pinnacle part of getting that damage back. I threw on Thirst for Blood. What this does is helps us give a little bit of survivability. When you kill enemies with a weapon while they're afflicted with bleed, it increases your weapon leech by 40% for 10 seconds. This is really nice because Trickster is all about just spam that shotgun. So while you're constantly shooting, you're getting a little bit of health back as well. And because this build is all around focused around bleed stuff, you might as well be max into it. For the legs, I took Bloody Boost. I rolled that on there. It came with buckshot shells, which was awesome. Increased shotgun weapon damage. And Bloody Boost increases your damage against enemies afflicted with bleed. Again, we're min-maxing ourselves into that bleed. Then for the gloves, I got lucky and got it rolled with personal space. We're always going to be close range, so that coupled with the shotgun shells, it's basically an extra 25% close range weapon damage, if we're being honest. I threw on Radiation Jump, which is our vulnerability affliction mod when we use Hunt the Prey on elites or any enemy. But you really want to prioritize the elites. For the boots, I wanted to get a little bit of survivability. So I took the boots that had mitigation from death already rolled on them. Normally this couples well with the Fortress mod from Death Shield, but even if you're not getting damage from it, it's still all around a really nice mod for just survivability. It's a lot of armor. And then I threw on Strong Twist, right? I like the idea of having that static firepower bonus. The whole point of this is that we never lose twisted rounds. So therefore, we should be having 15% increased damage throughout the entire expedition. So it couples really well. Moving on to the play style of this, right? So this is a budget build for you to be able to farm challenge tier 15 expeditions on gold. Most of them. This is a similar build to what I used when I was going up. I had a few mods, so I had to work with it, and I wasn't getting as lucky with gear pieces, so therefore I had to kind of make a weird version, but this would have been the ideal. The most important thing with this build is it's going to require some micromanaging of your ammo. You need to keep an eye on that ammo. Yes, you have additional mags, so you do have a kind of like a saving grace if you lose one mag, but you don't want to rely on that. If you're going to go up against an elite, you don't want to go up against them with 7 bullets left in your mag. If there's little dudes, kind of think of it if you've ever played Doom, right? Use the guys that are easily killed as fodder, meaning to give you some sort of resource. Use them as a resourceful way. In this case, if I've got 5 little perforos and 2 alphas coming towards me, I will unload onto the alpha, and then when I'm getting close to low on my ammo, I will kill the little perforos and get my ammo back, and then I'll finish off the alphas. So it's a lot of like switch back and forth to micromanage your ammo. It does require a little bit of getting used to and to have some skill with it when you're playing, but you will, when you do it enough, it'll just become second nature. The next thing is you want to be using Hunt the Prey primarily on elites because it gives vulnerability, which is going to increase the damage taken by 15%. I know that in the game guide it says 25%, but that hasn't been fixed yet. They did nerf that down before the game went live to 15%, or it was in the first patch. It was one or the other. Either way, it's still damage increase that it will give you. So you want to take advantage of that and put it on the elites. The little dudes you can kill in a few shots. Unless it's against humans, then using that on, say, a breacher isn't that bad of an idea because they do have a lot of armor. But don't be afraid to use it to get out of a bad spot. It is a mobility skill. It can be used for such. Third thing I'd say is aim for crit spots, guys. You're going to do more damage overall, but don't prioritize it like, oh my God, I have to get to this crit spot. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to be successful. Don't think like that because you do get an extra 40% weapon damage while you're behind the target. But if you can hit that crit spot, go for it. That being said, I was able to clear CT15 Gold with this build, but you need to keep in mind, this is suited to my aggressive playstyle. I feel comfortable playing this bounce around everywhere, aggressive like playstyle. It's just kind of my thing. You could easily replace Hunt the Prey with the borrowed time and the Hunt the Prey mod with the mod Time Space Protection that we actually use in the beginner build if you need more defense. If you don't want to bounce around everywhere and you want to play more like a paladin, do a lot of damage, but be a little slower, then go for it. If you want to be more bouncy and mobile and play like a rogue and you're comfortable playing that more squishier type, but higher damage and more aggression, then try this out. We're going to get into some gameplay. I didn't get a chance to show you last week's because I didn't have all the gear for it, unfortunately. But this one I actually have all the gear for it, and I'd like to showcase what it can do. I'm going to do one expedition on CT15. I'm going to gold it, so that way you guys can see proof of it, of what it can do. We'll play it at normal speed. If you want to fast forward, you can. Up to you. But guys, thanks so much again for watching. I'm going to go over the meta build per se, or the best speedrun endgame build for next week's video. It's the one I'm currently rocking on my Trickster, and it is a lot of fun. It uses abilities that I just find so amusing. But as always, guys, much love. And as I always say, be sure to put a smile on someone's face. Do a good deed for the day. All right, that's it. Take care, everybody. Oh, it's been a while since I've done this one. So if you do notice, guys, you guys are a little bit squishy. Like I said, it's an aggressive playstyle. You got to be able to read what's going around really well. Otherwise, it will bite you in the butt. I'm just skipping this just for time's sake. I could show you how to kill him and whatnot, but it works. You notice how I kind of go back and forth when I get the little dudes? I do that for the exact reason what I was mentioning to y'all about how when you switch back and forth, you're able to get that bleed proc and then get that ammo back. That's the biggest reason for it. But you notice how I've only really dropped one mag, I think, once throughout this entire map. And realistically, if I played smart enough, I could have kept that one. But I haven't dropped rounds at all. We'll see how we do against the Broodmother. But yeah, overall, you get what I mean by when I told you what it can do. It's strong. You can farm CT15 gold. I'm not using any tier 3 mods, believe it or not, and I could have thrown on stuff like Captain Hunter. I do have killing spree and whatnot, so this makes it to where it's a really easy budget build for you guys to use and still be able to clear golds. You're not going to clear golds in regards to like super fast compared to speed runs, but that's not the point of it. It's supposed to be a budget build for you guys to be able to farm them and just progress and get that gear. But again, you make a mistake, you're gonna feel it. Like, I'm gonna lose one mag for her, and that's fine. I'm going to use these little dudes to help me get ammo back. And when I did that, I had a full mag ready to go and unload on her. That's what I mean by micromanaging, guys. You definitely want to be aware of your ammo and where you're at with twisted rounds. If you lose twisted rounds, most time you die, because you're not gonna be able to put up enough damage. And it's a very aggressive playstyle, just because it's an aggressive game. There you go. There's a gold chem plant. We had a little bit of rocky situations. The one thing you do is you really prioritize the little guys. So like in the lab right there, if you notice, I went away from the big elites. I didn't do the big ones first. One, they had Sanctuary on already, and two, it just wasn't worth it because, believe it or not, the Rifleman hit very hard, and this build can really help clear waves of enemies, especially because you have that high rate firepower auto shotty. So it's kind of better to prioritize them and then go after the leads if you need to.